Welcome to the Girlfriend God Podcast, a podcast in search of and in service to the Divine Feminine. If you enjoy this podcast, don't forget to follow it, rate it, review it, and share it with your friends. Now, together, let's find the divine. Today's episode is sponsored by New World Women.
If you are a woman light worker, change maker, creative, or spiritual entrepreneur who wants to affect change from the divine feminine principles and be in like-hearted community, then check out New World Women, a company created by women, for women, with women. Hi, I'm Dawn Morningstar, and yes, that's my given name, one of 3 co-founders of New World Women, a movement of diverse women standing together, claiming our power, and manifesting a world beyond patriarchy. Kelly, host of The Girlfriend God, is one of New World Women's founding mothers. So join with Kelly and women from around the world who know it's time for the energy of the goddess to reawaken in each of us. Check out the Women's Proclamation for a New World at bit.ly/NWWGFG. That's bit.ly, bit.ly/NWWGFG.
Hello, and welcome to another episode of The Girlfriend God. Today, I'm really happy to welcome Natalie Bovis. She is a freelance lifestyle writer, a cat mom to 5 feisty felines and a couple dogs, and an enthusiast of all things fantastical, historical, and mythological. She has an English mom and a French dad, but grew up in Santa Fe, New Mexico, a place renowned for being a magical energy vortex and refuge for artists of all kinds. Natalie is an animal advocate, a kitten fosterer, and a fundraiser for rescue organizations. Her hobbies include hiking, traveling, and vegetarian cooking. Natalie also produces culinary events and cultural vacation yoga retreats in the US and Europe. She is the author of several mixology books, including Drinking with My Dog and Cocktails with My Cat. But Natalie doesn't just write about mixology. Today, we're going to be talking about Natalie's new book, an oracle deck, Cat Gods, Goddesses, Deities, and Demons, which will be released in April. In this gorgeously illustrated collection, you'll discover 51 of the most common and not so common cat gods, goddesses, deities, and demons from around the world, and how to incorporate their divine feline energy into your daily life. You'll meet 51 feline deities and demons from 4 geographical families around the world: Africa, the Americas, Asia, and Europe. You'll also encounter mystical cats who work in alliance with human gods and goddesses. The feline entities come from different eras and cultures all over the world. Some are angelic guides, others demonic adversaries, but all of them play a role in our understanding of feline deities and why they became to be so. Learn all about these sacred godlike creatures, including what they look like, what they symbolize, and how you can use their spirit and ancient wisdom to tap into your own divine feline energy. And there are links about the book, pre-order, in the show notes for this episode. So I would say go grab your copy now. And so, Natalie, I'm so happy you're here. Welcome to the show.
Thank you. I am so happy to be here and very grateful to get to talk about this new book. I'm so excited about it.
Yes. So, when we had talked earlier, you told me a little bit about how you went from being a mixologist and having that be your primary source of income. It's a field you've been in for a long time. You've made a lot of appearances, written these mixology books. How did you make the jump from that to this?
Yeah, well, so mixology is the liquid element of the culinary world.
Mhm.
And I create recipes, obviously, for the 5 cocktail books that I have in total.
Mhm.
And cooking and cocktail making is its own form of alchemy.
Mhm.
So if you think about it, mixing potions, mixing, things together, it's not really that far from where my bigger passion lies, which is number one with animal advocacy, and
Mhm.
number two, the fantastical world of gods of all kinds, mythology. I grew up in Santa Fe, so I've been
Mhm.
surrounded by Native American culture, which has so much tie to
Yes.
the natural world
Yes.
and animals and
Mhm.
spirits of the earth.
Right.
I personally am not religious, but I'm very drawn to Buddhism, for example,
Mhm.
which is also very much about, connecting with nature and respecting all forms of life. And
Right.
so, my last 2 cocktail books that you referred to, the Drinking with My Dog and Cocktails with My Cat, to be honest, after 3 cocktail books, I was kind of like, I don't know if I have a whole lot more to say about cocktails.
Mhm.
And and so both of those 2 came about. Well, Drinking with My Dog that idea came about during the pandemic when we all were
Mhm.
home drinking with our dogs because we
Mhm.
had couldn't hang out with our friends. And so that idea sprang from there. And I was excited about it because the book is very, very much about dogs. And then it has
Mhm.
cocktail recipes that goes with each of the dog stories. And same
Right.
thing with Cocktails with My Cat, very much about cats and then recipes that go along with each story. And so that excited me because it was a way I could kind of bridge into writing about animals.
Right.
And so then that, funnily enough, so my editor at Running Press, Jordana, as she was reading through the first draft of Cocktails with My Cat,
Mhm.
she saw a drink I have in there called Cat Gods and Goddesses.
Mhm.
And as I was researching to write the blurb about cat gods and goddesses and create the recipe that goes with that, in that
Mhm.
little head note, I say, oh, this is such an interesting topic. I could write a whole book about it, but here we're going to talk about Bastet and blah, blah, blah. And
Mhm.
so Jordana, who's also a cat lover, sent me a note and she said, hey, here you said you could write a whole book about cat gods. Are you interested in that idea? And I was like, oh my gosh, I'm so interested. I'm so, so, so interested. And so that's, I was just so lucky that she caught that and thought I would have the chance to do that. So this is not a
Mhm.
cocktail book. It's an actual book. And so I'm really excited about it.
That's awesome. So you said that you're also about cooking, right?
Mhm. Yeah.
And both cooking and mixology are not only can be seen as forms of alchemy, but as a means of creating something,
Yes.
right? And
Mhm.
goddesses are all about creation, right? Whether that's giving birth or uh, they're the goddesses of language and literature, or the goddesses of art and music, or you know what I mean? So that kind
Yes.
of ties together as well. So I think that perhaps if you want to write another mixology book, you could make it a mixology and food recipe book and call it Eating and Drinking with Animal Goddesses,
Oh, I love that.
because there
Yeah.
are goddesses associated with cats, goddesses associated with dogs, goddesses associated with birds, bears, possums, elephants, cows,
So true. So true.
right?
You're absolutely. And that was, and I love that idea. I might pass that along. Well, they'll hopefully hear this podcast and maybe they'll be excited about that. um,
Right, right.
but one thing that was really challenging when I started working on the Cat Gods and Goddesses, Deities and Demons book was that there's not really a book like this specifically about cat focused ones
Yes,
yet. And so I was scouring libraries. I love working in the library anyway. I'm a big library fan. But I was
that's
scouring
great. I'm a librarian.
oh, you're my hero. I just thank you for what you do. Yeah, I write all my books in the library actually.
Mhm.
And I just sit there, put on my headphones, zone out on my electronic music and just write.
Uh,
And the books are all right there to research. But there wasn't a compilation of all these cat gods. And so I was finding gods, to your point, but all these other animals. And I had to really scrape and search and deep dive on random links I'd find online. And then there was at one point, I was finding this whole really cool bunch of information. And then I realized it was like some fantasy video game. And then I was like, wait a minute, this isn't real. Like, this isn't factual. This is a
right. Yeah.
video game. So then I had to like backtrack and then go
Right.
back and
Right.
check on my notes again. And it was really it was interesting. I learned so much in the process, but yes, there are many animals tied to gods, and which I love. I think that we've lost our reverence for
Mhm.
animals in modern culture,
Mhm.
especially modern American culture. I find like we're just
Right.
not respecting. We're so cruel and horrible. Obviously factory farms, but hunting for sport, and
Mhm.
the horrible things that people do, running down wolves with their snowmobiles, that horrible
Mhm.
man, Cody what's his face, who tortured that wolf. And there's horrible people that do horrible things to animals. And rather than realizing that we live alongside them, that they also are spiritual entities in a way that we may not fully understand, but I
Mhm.
believe that they are. And that was one of the things that really excited me about this book, was looking at cats, who I think are particularly, we can, I don't want to say that they're particularly spiritual. I think that they are, but I think all animals are. But I
Mhm.
think we are able to recognize it most in cats because they're most
Mhm.
like us, I think, in that way.
Right. Right. I I don't know if people still say this, but a long time ago, I remember there being a belief that inside every cat was the soul of a beautiful woman.
Oh, I believe that.
I don't know if it's true or not, but yeah, and as you say, not just particular acts of cruelty towards animals, but just by the nature of us being us as humans, we've done a lot of damage. Like deer, for example, the reason that reindeer are extinct in the lower 48 states is because of logging and snowmobiling and all of those things that we've chipped away and chipped away and chipped away at their habitat. And that's true for wolves too, right? um, yes, in that particular instance it was for sport, but wolves in general and coyotes and things like that have been driven away by other means,
Yes.
which is fucked with our whole ecosystem as
Yes.
well, right?
Yes. Absolutely.
Right.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's heartbreaking. I mean, the amount of animals that we lose, species that we lose daily, is
Mhm.
just where we don't have the right to do that to other
Right.
species. And
Right.
it's so depressing, it's so overwhelming. I mean, I don't know the solution other than I can donate here and volunteer there and try
Right.
to raise awareness, even in drinking with my dog and cocktails with my cat, reading through the stories that I have there, it's very clear that I'm very much an animal advocate,
Right. Right.
And in this book too, like the South American gods and goddesses are very much tied to the jaguar. The jaguar is a very important animal
Right.
in
Right.
South America, and certainly ancient South America. And so I learned a lot about how important that particular animal is, to so many cultures and ancient religions from that part of the world.
Hmm. So I was going to say, you said we think we have a right to have dominion over these animals, and I would say the same is true of the earth, right? We think we have dominion over that and that we have
Right.
a right, but we really don't.
That's right. To cut down all the trees and manipulate,
Hmm.
everything about the earth.
Hmm.
Pollute the oceans, destroy
Hmm.
the animals that live there. I mean, it's just,
Hmm.
yeah. I don't know. I mean, I try to feel hopeful about future generations because I
Hmm.
feel like the younger people, because they're unfortunately are inheriting such a disastrous situation with, what we're doing to our planet. I feel like they're more aware and they're very, I feel like there's so much advance in science at the same time that maybe future generations will be able to start cleaning up the mess and save the planet and even bring back
Yes.
some species.
Yes.
Um, I kind of have to go to sleep with that thought in my mind to kind of, deal with it all.
Right. Because for our generation, like everything that we've put into place now to try and save the planet, like it's too late.
Right.
Right. Right.
Hmm.
And even things that we feel good about, like recycling, really doesn't help all that
Right.
much. And a lot of that stuff winds up in a landfill anyway. And yeah,
Hmm.
so
Hmm.
yeah.
Exactly.
And especially the ocean, that makes me very sad. I mean, it's more than, it covers 2/3 of our whole planet, and it's probably going to be the first thing to die
It's
because of what we've done.
heartbreaking.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's horrendous. And, and then, bringing it back to cats, like, in shelters, so many, cats are euthanized even more often than dogs. Um,
Hmm.
and older cats are so rarely adopted. And
Yeah.
black cats, there's this black cat bias where people adopt
I
them
know.
less, which is so
Just so
weird,
ridiculous.
so ridiculous. And I was trying to figure out why is that. And so apparently it's like if a cat is a black, like pure black cat, you see its facial expressions a little bit less. So in other words, cats with lighter colors are seem a little bit more animated, supposedly. And so humans think that they're cuter or can relate to them more. And then of course there's the whole witchy thing, which
The
again, bringing it back to
superstition.
goddesses,
Right,
is
right,
just, anytime that a woman has power or is connected to nature or has a goddess like, which I think all women have if they connect with it, a goddess like, whatever way of looking at the world, boom,
right,
you're a witch. And then
right,
cats got wrapped up with that. There's a story
right,
in the
right.
book, actually, if you want, I can just quickly say about that.
Sure.
Galinthias, who I include in the book, she herself is not a goddess, but she was a lady in waiting.
Hmm.
And the goddess, which one? Oh, it's popping out of my head now. But she was turned into a cat because I should probably just look it up. But
Okay.
so one interesting story about how cats became associated with witchcraft comes from the tale of Galinthias, who's in the book in the Europe chapter.
Hmm.
And so that story goes that the goddess Hera was a wife of Zeus, the
Hmm.
wife, but he had seemed to have many, relationships. And she was very jealous because Zeus impregnated Princess Alcmene, I'm sure I'm saying it wrong, Alcmene, and who is immortal. And
Hmm.
so, and her lady in waiting was Galinthias. And
Hmm.
so Hera was planning to kill the child, and Galinthias alerted the princess that this was going to happen and ended up saving the child. And Hera was so outraged that she was betrayed by this midwife that she turned her into a black cat. And so then the cat was banished, and then
Uh-huh.
there was another goddess, Hecate, or who was a natural sort of, I think she was more of an earthbound goddess. But anyway, she took her in, and Galinthias became her assistant. And so this whole story of black cats being associated with witches, that's one of the sort of ancient tales.
Hmm.
Um, I included her because she's not a goddess herself, but she's
Hmm.
one of the, magical cats that is associated with a goddess tale that I thought was kind of interesting. She actually has nothing to do with evil or witchery in the bad way. She was
Hmm.
a kind-hearted midwife who wanted to save
Right.
the baby. And the baby, by the way, was Hercules. And
Right.
so
Right.
you know So I think that was kind of interesting.
And you mentioned Hecate or Hecate, both pronunciations are right from what I've
Okay.
heard. Both spellings with a C and a K are also both acceptable. Just what I have been told.
Okay, yeah. Excuse me if I say
Um,
anything wrong.
no, that's
If I
fine.
don't pronounce it right.
Um, I say Hecate, which is the only reason I noticed it in the
Oh,
first place. So she is actually more frequently associated with dogs.
interesting.
And imagery of her, she usually has two dogs. Two,
Huh.
no, two, three, sometimes two, sometimes three, I think. Probably three, because that's a magical number. So
Right, right.
um yeah, but anyway, I was thinking as you were talking, and Hera was the wife of
Zeus.
whoever. Um
Yeah.
I-
Some man god.
right. And I was gonna say, so since the long history of patriarchy has so often altered the original goddess, for example, marrying her off or making her a consort of a god, of a male god, I would say if you write that recipes and mixology with goddesses, with animal goddesses, make it just goddesses, not gods.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Because chances
I,
are, if she's
yeah.
married off to somebody, she was originally a goddess in her own right.
Totally. You know what? That's true. And if I did a cookbook, cocktail book about goddesses of all animal types, then I
Mm.
could do just goddesses. There weren't
Yes.
enough, like only goddesses, you know, which is funny
Oh,
because I would
yeah.
have assumed that cats would have all been goddesses, really, because they have this sort of feminine connection.
Hmm.
Um, but there were quite a few that were male, and then the demons, the feline demons were
Mm.
usually male, which
Right.
I found interesting as well. They were mostly in Asia, the demon ones, a few in South America. But that was also very interesting to
Hmm.
explore. But yes, I like that. I wish that there were, yeah, in Egypt, obviously there are many, you know, cat goddesses, and I was really wanting to expand the book beyond just the ones that we've heard of in Egypt, you know,
Right.
Bastet, Sekhmet, you know,
Hmm.
etc., Mut, and so forth.
Right.
Um, but yeah, it's very interesting. Very, very interesting to see which animals are associated with whom and with gender, you know, whether
Hmm.
they're good or bad, etc.
Right. Um, and I'm glad that you do your research in the library because we often talk on this show about how you got to be careful with what you're learning about a goddess or witchcraft or really anything in the mystical realm from online. Right.
Yeah.
If
Well,
you
I
read
mean, I
a
use
whole
both.
if you read
I
a
use,
whole article about something and they haven't cited any sources, that's
right.
probably just that person passing off their opinion as fact
Totally.
when they really
Totally.
don't have any evidence to support that. And even if it's something that everybody believes, like, okay, part of the black cat thing is because of superstition, for it to be really true, we still need some evidence to back that up with, right? Like somebody did a study about it, or right, like the study that you mentioned, right? That was probably a research-based study of people don't adopt black cats because they don't show as much in their facial expressions, right? That wasn't something somebody just threw out there on the internet. Somebody actually did
Right.
a study.
Yeah, that did come from a rescue organization. So
Right.
that was really interesting. Yeah,
And
and you
and
know, and it is hard, you know, like I was saying earlier, it was very challenging as I was really, really wanting to be citing correctly and sharing facts, and there are many conflicting things even on specific, you know, cat gods and goddesses.
Mhm.
And so, you know, I'll just say to like anyone who might be listening who read
Mhm.
something in the book and say, well, that's not right, it's this or whatever, you know, that's okay. And I would love
Mhm.
for people to send me in what they've learned about, that may even conflict with the book, because the thing is, I think that in many cases, there are different accounts or different stories surrounding one god or goddess.
Yes, yes, there are different mythologies surrounding gods and goddesses. So of course there's going to be some discrepancy with that. And even among researchers, there's some discrepancy, right? Because somebody wrote a paper about blah, 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 and then somebody disagreed with that, so wrote, an
Exactly.
alternate theory. Um,
Exactly.
but I'm talking about basic things like, the scent of amber is associated with Hecate.
Hmm.
How do you know that?
Oh, okay. I thought that was the thing. I was like, oh, that's interesting. No,
No,
that's
that
true.
was just
How
an
do you know that?
example of,
Yeah.
like,
Yes, yes.
or the flower, the rose is associated with blah blah blah. How do you know that?
Right. Yeah, yeah, totally.
How do you know that? Right? Like, there are things like we know the doves are associated with Inanna and Ishtar, and there is academic, archaeological, and anthropological evidence that supports that.
Right.
Right?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
So yeah, it's just, I think as a librarian and an archivist at heart, that's a big pet peeve of mine,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah, totally. Well, and there's one goddess in here. I think she's an Asian goddess that's associated with the water lily. Oh no, no,
Mhm.
South American, the water lily jaguar goddess,
Mhm.
South America. And that's something where she's associated with that because of ancient carvings that were found and da da da. And so then I feel confident saying, okay, this is a water lily goddess,
Right, right.
and there's all of that. One thing I did make up, a term I made up in the book is this term, well, I mean, because I'm very transparent, is
Mhm.
divine feline energy. So that's a term that I came up with to sort of explain, really the premise of the book, which is
Right.
what we're doing. And with the oracle cards, I refer to divine feline energy a fair amount because in the beginning of the little guidebook that goes with that, obviously I'm into meditation, as I'm sure many people are. I know
Mhm.
many people are. And so I talk about, just sort of like before you pull your card for the day to center yourself, the way anyone would already, I'm
Mhm.
sure. And connect with your divine feline energy, and it's really connecting with your higher self, any universal
Right.
energy. But I love the idea of really pulling out the feline energy,
Mhm.
in the universe, because that's what, if you're a cat lover and into cat gods and goddesses, that's what you're kind of reaching for.
Right.
And if you're somebody who believes that the gods and goddesses can, or energy can communicate with us in some way,
Mhm.
then channeling that kind of energy, specifically, I thought that was a very convenient term to think about it in that way.
Right. Well, I mean, it's just, a word removed from divine feminine energy. So,
Right. Exactly. Exactly.
yeah.
Exactly. Exactly.
Um, what was I gonna say? I thought of something else I was gonna complain about probably. But it escapes me now.
That's fine.
That's okay. So, oh, I think I was gonna say, I think we can somewhat heavily rely on mythology that we know has been passed down from generation to generation to generation when we're looking at cultures like Native American culture or Caribbean culture, or I think that we can consider that a fairly accurate source, even if we don't have anthropological or archaeological evidence. But in most cases, we have both, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, so, okay, so I think I'm just going to let you talk about the book because that's why we're
Okay.
here.
Okay.
What do you
So,
really want listeners to know? Do you want to show us some pictures?
oh, sure. So the book really came to life with a wonderful illustrator named Lucy Rose.
Hmm.
And I really love her style. I was thrilled that the publishers chose her.
Hmm.
Um, I think she did a great job of capturing the essence of what each
Hmm.
goddess or god or demon was about.
Hmm.
Um, Here's one of the Native American ones. So yeah, and this is a really cool one. I love this one from India. Yeah, so that was
I mean, tarot decks in and of themselves are art,
totally.
right?
Yes, yes. And this one is an oracle deck. I personally don't read tarot, so I didn't feel I was qualified to do a tarot deck. So
But
this
the
is
artistic element is the same, I think,
totally, totally.
for both. Yeah.
Just so that if anyone is interested in getting it, so the Oracle card deck is, like angel cards or any Oracle cards, they're designed to be, what I like to do with these kind of cards is start my morning routine. I do my stretching, I do my meditation, and then, pull a card, something to do with a message that might be helpful to me that day. And
Hmm.
so each of these is designed for that. And then of course there's the little guidebook that goes along. So in the guidebook, I had to be really limited on words. They're really just like so short. So I just do a little blurb about what the god or goddess is about, and then
Hmm.
how that may be relating to you, kind of bringing
Hmm.
it back to the reader so they can understand what that message might be. And
Right.
so that's the booklet that goes with the oracle cards. And there are 40 cat gods, goddesses, deities, and demons in the oracle card deck. And then the book, the separate book, this
Hmm.
has 51 because I found more as I was going along
Hmm.
and researching than 40. And
Hmm.
so we decided that for the book, it could be a little bit more expansive. And this has much longer descriptions of
Right.
each one.
Right. And that's fairly common, right? Because they always make the booklets to be able to fit in the box
Mhm.
that the deck comes in. So, um, and
And to be convenient for the person who's just, doing meditation. You just want a quick little connection
right,
with the
right,
feline deity, and
right.
then not necessarily investing like, 5 minutes or 10 minutes to read in depth. But when you are investing that time, then the book is great for that.
So I know that Oracle decks, like tarot, um, that there are like people that read Oracle decks have different systems and different spreads and different ways of interpreting the Oracle decks. Um, so is there a resource of, and if there isn't, maybe you could make one. Um, I think it would be great to have a resource of not just utilizing the deck as a like daily ritual, like daily affirmation ritual or daily morning, whatever part of your prayer and meditation routine is, um, to have instructions for different spreads and how to use those. Because I'm always
Yeah.
very fascinated by, I don't think I've ever had my Oracle cards read, but I've had my tarot cards read a lot. And
Right. Yeah.
I'm always fascinated by different practitioners of that having really very widely varied ways of how they do it. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
And
I
the spreads
do.
that they do and how they line
Yeah.
up the cards and
Mhm. So for myself, I think of tarot, which again, I'm not a tarot card reader, but I
mhm,
have had my cards read many times and I love getting my cards read.
mhm,
I think of that as a more in-depth tool where
mhm,
you're really doing a deeper dive. And,
mhm,
when I go to a tarot card reader, I feel like you talk about the spread and all of that can get a lot more detailed,
mhm,
and I love that. I think of oracle cards and angel cards as more of a quick hit, like literally
mhm,
pull it. This is a message for the day. This is how that's going to hit me this day. One thing I thought was kind of interesting though is that, like a same card might be coming up for someone often, even though they mix them up and shuffle them around. They might
Hmm.
be
Hmm.
getting a same card over and over,
Hmm.
or they may get a certain region of the world over and over. And I
Right.
feel like that's a very interesting thing to pay attention to. And I
Hmm.
certainly encourage people to note, to keep track in the journal or whatever, if they use that, to
Hmm.
keep track of who comes up and
Hmm.
how it's hitting them, because there may be, just like with, therapy or with anything, things can come up, but then like if it kind of patterns keep showing up,
Hmm.
and we explore that a little bit, we might learn something
Right.
we didn't even realize is
Right. Right.
bubbling beneath the surface within
Right.
our own lives.
Hmm. I mean, I think that there are different spreads because people who were tarot card readers kind of naturally became oracle card readers. This oracle cards became a thing.
Hmm.
Um, and I have been told by oracle card readers that I know, they've described it as, and this could be totally wrong, and somebody can write into the show and be like, that isn't it at all. Um, but like you, right? Like I'm open to learning, right? I don't claim to
Mhm.
know it all.
Mhm.
Anyway, so the oracle readers that I know have told me that their tarot readings are like the tarot readings and oracle work together like a sandwich, and that the
Yeah,
tarot cards were like the ingredients of the sandwich, like the slice of turkey, the mayo, the mustard, blah, blah, blah. And that the oracle readings were like the bread.
I love that. I love that. Yeah, I think that's kind of what I'm thinking, like how I'm thinking about it
Yeah,
too.
yeah.
Different way of explaining it. Yeah, I like that.
Or that as kind of the same thing as you were saying, that their tarot readings were about the nitty-gritty and the
Hmm.
deep dive, and that their oracle readings were more about the big picture.
Right. And I also think, with regards to oracle cards, I mean, you don't have to just stop at one. So in other words, so let's say that I'm dealing with a conflict with a coworker,
Hmm.
and it's really bothering me and blah blah blah. I
Hmm.
could pull my oracle card and see what that first one is. And and then I might have that might bring up a question, like if it
Hmm.
comes up that something about, pay attention to people who may not be authentic with you,
Hmm.
then I might receive that a card that has that sort of a message, and then I might think, okay, well that brings up another question for me, and then maybe really do a meditation on that question and then pull another card and see what is there.
Hmm.
So I don't
Hmm.
think people have to stop with just one. I think that you can follow your own train,
Right. And anybody that doesn't do oracle and tarot deck readings for a living
Hmm.
can always do some of the more, well, I guess what we think of as traditional tarot spreads that everybody knows, even if we don't have
Yeah,
evidence to back it up, but
yeah,
that everybody knows, like the Celtic Cross spread,
sure,
or the three card past, present, future
sure.
spread. Right.
Yeah, that's a good point. I honestly had not really thought about it that way, but I think that totally makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah,
At least
definitely.
those two, I think you
Yeah. Yeah,
could untrained or not doing it for a living, probably do at least those two
absolutely.
spreads for yourself.
Absolutely. Gosh, I would love to hear if people do that and with these cards. If
Mhm.
if anyone out there gets the cards, and I'd love to hear how you wind up using them, if you
Me
just
too. Yeah,
one a day or if you do a
if you do
whole
a Celtic cross or a
yeah.
past, present, future spread, let us know.
Yeah. Yeah, let us know. That sounds really fun to learn how people use them.
Um, so what else do you want people to know about the book? Or what
Well,
else do you want to say about the book? I'm sure that you love talking about it. Although in 6 months you're going to be tired of talking about it.
no, I won't be tired of talking about it. I'm so thrilled with it. I mean, I'm just so proud of it, and I worked really hard on it, and I learned a lot writing it. So I
Mhm. It
think
really,
that,
it really is beautiful.
oh, thank you. Thank you. Well, Yeah, I really try to you know, as a white lady in America, I
Hmm.
try to be very conscious and respectful of the other cultures and
Hmm.
religions that I
Hmm.
was writing about.
Hmm.
You know, I hope I didn't make any flubs or offend anyone inadvertently. I don't think I did, hopefully. But you know, I really tried to be very to learn as much as I could and make sure I was conveying the information correctly and be respectful of, you know, other people's spiritual
Right.
beliefs.
Right.
Um and that was really fun and very interesting for me as I was learning. I think that if people love cats, and so
Hmm.
many of us do, this is going to be a great book for you because you just, you know, you learn about cats in a different way. I think anyone who loves cats really understands how affectionate and kind of deep they are as animals go. You know, they are they each have such distinct personalities.
Hmm.
They, you know, I have 5 cats and each one has I love all of them in their own way, you know, because
Right. Right.
and for different reasons, just like you would
Hmm.
with children, obviously. And so the cat gods, goddesses, deities, and demons are the same way. And so
Right.
I feel like that's really fun. If you're into mythology of any kind, really focusing on the feline
Hmm.
world is also very interesting. As you brought up, Kelly, some animal or some gods and goddesses are associated with more than one animal. And that was something that I found quite interesting. For example, Bast or Bastet, who's an Egyptian goddess, she also, in as the Romans or the Greeks, you know, because of course regions of the world were taken over by different people at different times,
Right.
and therefore that means that the god or goddess of that particular area would be
Hmm.
morphing from one, you know, called something new, just like Christianity did, right? We stole so
Right.
much, or Christians stole so much from paganism and whatnot,
Right.
rename gods and all of that. So Bast or Bastet is also Artemis, is also Diana. And
Hmm.
each of those goddesses are associated with different animals. So Diana and Artemis both have cat-like qualities, and I kind of relate them to the goddess the in the book. But it's also interesting to see how many other animals they are associated with for their
Hmm.
different personality, you know, characteristics, qualities, etc.
Right. Right.
I hope that my goal with the book was to make it a little bit of cultural anthropology in a sense,
Hmm.
a little bit of history, and then a lot of mythology
Hmm.
and fantastical fun. So I hope it hits both a true sort of academic or intellectual note, but I
Hmm.
also hope that it's fun and entertaining enough
Hmm.
that it would appeal to people who, you know, are looking for it to be, you know, more that direction.
Hmm. Hmm.
So I
Cool.
don't know. I don't know. It's kind of hard, but you're the first person kind enough to interview me. So I guess I don't have my talking points solid. I'm just a bundle of enthusiasm.
That's good, though. That's great. Um, it's well, you know, we talked about that too. It's boring to have somebody ask you a list of preset,
Yeah,
pre-scripted questions, right?
right. Yeah, I
I
love that about your show. I love that it's a conversation.
Yeah. I just ask you things as they come up for me, and as you saw, sometimes they go away as soon as soon as they appear.
I relate.
Um, so because it is so beautiful, can you show us some more of the cards?
Yeah.
And do you have a favorite?
Um, I really love, there's one goddess who I think is so pretty where she Lishu. She's a Japanese goddess. Let's see,
Hmm.
where is that? I gotta get to Asia. Oh, let's see. Oh, they're all so pretty. I'm a big fan of Lucy's work. Well, here, as I'm sorting through, I'll just show some
Okay.
as I go while I'm looking for Lishu, who I think is really pretty.
Okay.
Oh, this is a fun one. This is an Icelandic one.
Hmm.
Um, there's Dewan, that's an Indian one. Tay, and I'm sure I pronounced lots of things wrong. Oh, I like Lishu a lot. She
Uh-huh.
because also really I love that she did her with the lily.
Yeah.
I want to get a tattoo of a lily sometime. Here's
Oh.
Sekhmet. So here's something kind of
So
interesting about, oh, you have,
they're
oh, no way.
daisies.
They're daisies. Oh, they're so
Mm.
pretty. I love that.
Mm.
So, on Facebook, I found a whole Facebook group of people who worship the goddess Sekhmet.
Mhm.
And I didn't realize that there are still so many today, like today, that there are so many groups that are very much actively worshiping specific cat goddesses. I wasn't sure how many people were still doing that. You know what I mean?
Well, not just cat goddesses, but all goddesses, and
Right.
which is ascribed to, a resurgence of witchcraft as a practice
Totally.
and neo-paganism. And
Totally,
yeah,
totally.
if
And
there's a god or goddess, you can find a Facebook group that worships that god or goddess.
yeah, well, and I love witchcraft. I love paganism. I'm very much into all of, those kind of natural arts myself in my own
Mhm.
little personal rituals. But I guess I just wasn't aware that there, like you say, so specifically for certain goddesses. So I thought that was really fun to find out. And I joined the group just so I can kind of see
Mhm.
what people are talking about.
And you'll learn a lot listening to this show.
Yes, I know. I've had so much fun listening to your guests because they're very interesting. This is a really beautiful card. This is from South
Mm.
America. This is one of the jaguar gods.
Yes, I like it.
Uh, this one's cool. This one is another South American. Oh, the magical cats. This is Celtic, European. Beautiful cats. Aren't they gorgeous? I,
Cool. Are
oh,
they twins or are they male and female?
actually, I don't know their gender. But they are two cats that assist the goddess. I'm second, I'm gonna say this wrong. Caradwin.
They're a
Caradwin.
twin. Yeah, you're
Caradwin.
close. You're good. Yeah, you're fine.
Yeah. I feel it's so funny. I feel so
Of,
uninitiated, even though I'm a
of
very
course,
spiritual, I'm a very
I
spiritual
was just thinking,
person.
of course, I say that, but then, if there's anybody out there who's in one of those Facebook groups that
Right.
exclusively worships
Yeah.
Sarah Dwin and we're saying that wrong, please let us.
Yeah. Please let us know. Yeah, I mean, I certainly am not coming in like I'm the expert on all things to do with goddesses related to cats. I am in the sense that I researched a lot and I compiled them into this book.
Right,
But like I said, as I was writing it, I was learning so much.
right.
And I definitely am open to hearing other people's input because, it's fun stuff. So yeah, the artwork is just incredible. I mean, I feel like these could make such pretty posters. Like I have all these
Mhm.
t-shirts, hats. I mean, I have so many things I would love to to do with them because I think they're all so pretty.
Well, and you could always do that down the road. You could put
Yeah.
downloadable uh images on your website that people can buy.
Well, it's Lucy. These are Lucy. Like we'd have to go through Lucy and her agent. I don't have permission
Right.
to just post these up and have people
Mhm.
download them. That's something that the publisher could hopefully do in the future. But we have to work through, it's Lucy's artwork. We have to be respectful
Right.
of her.
Well, and if she has been an artist for a long time, then she already knows that she can
Yeah, yeah,
look
yeah, yeah,
up
yeah,
downloadable images that people
for
can
sure.
then put on t-shirts and
Yeah, yeah,
whatever.
yeah. I know the whole
They
world of like AI and all this that gets stolen is so frustrating.
right.
Yeah.
So since I know you have another commitment after this, I think we should wrap up, but you've listened to the show, so you know that at the end of the show, I ask all the guests that haven't been on the show before the same three questions. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
Okay. So first question, tell me something about yourself that people would be surprised to learn.
I've jumped out of 60 plus perfectly good airplanes.
Wow. Okay.
I was a
Okay.
skydiver for a little while. That's still a baby in skydiver terms, and they're not tandems. I learned how to jump by myself, which was scary and terrifying and
Yeah.
the most fantastic courses I ever did. And I was living in Spain then and working at the skydive center. So
Nice.
I used
Yeah.
to be a massage therapist. And so speaking
Uh,
of energy, I would always, when I do massage, I haven't done massage lately. I'm thinking of getting back into it because this whole spiritual realm is just
mhm.
ties in with that. And
Yes.
I always, channel energy when I'm doing massages. At the time, I
Mhm.
was living in Spain, working at a skydiving center, doing massage for all the skydive teams that were coming through and jumping, professional
Mhm.
teams. And, I always channel energy, from universal energy into the massages, but that's also where this whole like divine feline energy thing came from. So that might
Right.
be something that as I work on people in the future, I might be specifically seeing how they feel about divine feline energy and tapping into pulling an oracle card and
Mhm.
focusing on that god or goddess might be kind of,
Mhm. Well, and
but anyway,
you could also become a Reiki master.
I would have to explore that. I would love to do something like that.
Because that's all about channeling
Totally.
energy
Yeah.
and using energy to heal people and
Yes. No, it's exactly. Actually, energy is a huge part. When I did massage, that was a huge, I'd pull the energy up from the earth and down from the sky and
Mhm.
out through my hands and breathe it through. That was my sort of like the way I would think about it. And
Mhm.
then do that with the movement. And I, I'm pretty good. I mean,
Mhm.
that's an arena I feel very confident and really enjoyed it.
Sounds like you're not that far removed from being a Reiki master, so I think it would come pretty easily to
Might
you.
explore that and tie it in with divine feline energy because
Right,
I think
right.
that's okay.
Yeah,
I love
yeah.
that you're planning my next moves in my career. Thank you, Kelly. You're very inspirational.
Happy to be of service. Um, so second question, what is your current favorite television series?
Bad sisters,
Fucking love it.
right?
Fucking love it. Yes.
I'm
So
obsessed.
good.
I'm a
So
little late to the
good.
party, but I'm finally watching it.
Yeah.
Obsessed.
I love Sharon
I
Horgan
love her. Love
and
her. Love her.
anything and everything she does.
Yes.
So
Yes. Yes. Yes.
um she did the first thing I saw her in was she did a half an hour comedy series with Rob Delaney called Catastrophe,
Oh yes. 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 I saw.
which to date is one of the funniest shows I've ever
Yes.
watched.
Yes. Yes. Yeah. She's amazing.
So finally, if they made a movie about your life, what would the theme song on the soundtrack be?
Oh, I didn't think about this one yet. Has to be changes because
Okay,
my life has been many things over the years. I have had a very varied journey throughout my life, and it will continue to change and
right,
change and change. And I need that. I thrive on it. So that'll be my theme song.
cool. Okay. Um, yeah, so I think we're done. I know you have company coming. I will be in touch. But until then, as I always say, I wish you the peace and the love of the goddess.
Thank you so much. And same to you.
Okay. Talk soon.
Okay,
Enjoy
thank
your
you.
company.
Thank you.
Okay, bye-bye.
Bye.
Thanks for watching or listening to The Girlfriend God. Don't forget to like, rate, review, subscribe, follow, and comment. Episodes drop every Saturday morning at 8 a.m. and you can follow The Girlfriend God on social media on Instagram, TikTok, and Facebook.